There was a house on the hill that nobody dared to approach. It was said to be cursed and haunted by the spirits of its former residents, a family that met a terrible fate. Rumor had it that on the night of the full moon, strange noises could be heard coming from the house, and shadows could be seen moving inside. One day, a group of curious teenagers decided to explore the house. They had heard the stories, but they didn't believe in ghosts. They climbed up the hill and reached the front door. It was locked, but they managed to pry it open. As they entered the house, they felt a chill in the air. It was as if the house itself was alive and watching them. They searched the rooms one by one, but they found nothing out of the ordinary. Just old furniture, cobwebs, and dust. They were about to leave when they heard a creaking sound coming from upstairs. They climbed the stairs cautiously, and as they reached the top, they saw a figure standing at the end of the hallway. It was a woman dressed in a white gown, her long hair covering her face. They thought it was just a prank, but as they approached her, they saw that her eyes were black as coal and her skin was as cold as ice. The woman suddenly disappeared, and the teenagers heard a loud scream coming from one of the rooms. They rushed towards it, and as they opened the door, they saw a ghostly figure hovering over a bed. It was the spirit of a young girl who had died in her sleep many years ago. The teenagers tried to run, but the doors were locked and the windows were barred. They were trapped in the house with the ghosts of its former residents. They heard whispers, moans, and footsteps coming from all directions. They knew they had to get out before it was too late. As they searched for a way out, they found a hidden passage that led to the basement. They followed it, and as they reached the end, they saw a trapdoor. They opened it and climbed down into a dark and damp tunnel. They didn't know where it led, but they had no other choice. As they walked through the tunnel, they heard scratching sounds coming from the walls. They felt something breathing on their necks, and they saw glowing eyes staring at them from the darkness. They knew they were not alone. Finally, they saw a light at the end of the tunnel. They ran towards it, and as they emerged from the other side, they saw that they were back outside, on the hill. They looked back, and the house was gone. It had vanished into thin air. The teenagers never spoke of the house on the hill again. They knew they had escaped the clutches of its evil spirits, but they also knew that they would never forget the horror they had experienced that night. Years passed, and the teenagers grew up, but they never forgot about their experience in the house on the hill. They always wondered what had happened to the ghosts that haunted the place and why they had been trapped there. One day, one of the teenagers, now a grown man, decided to investigate the history of the house. He went to the local archives and found out that the family that had lived in the house had been murdered by an unknown assailant. The case had never been solved, and the spirits of the victims were said to have remained in the house, seeking revenge on their killer. The man decided to go back to the hill and see if the house had reappeared. He climbed up the hill and reached the top, and to his surprise, he saw the house standing there, just as it had been when he was a teenager. He cautiously approached the house, and as he reached the front door, he heard a whispering voice calling his name. He hesitated for a moment but then pushed the door open and entered the house. He searched the rooms one by one, but he found nothing out of the ordinary. He was about to leave when he heard a creaking sound coming from upstairs. He climbed the stairs, and as he reached the top, he saw a figure standing at the end of the hallway. It was the same woman dressed in a white gown that he had seen years before. The woman beckoned him to follow her, and he did, even though he was afraid. She led him to a room at the end of the hallway, and as he entered, he saw a ghostly figure hovering over a bed. It was the spirit of the young girl he had seen before. The man felt a sudden wave of sadness and empathy for the girl, and he realized that the ghosts of the house were not seeking revenge on their killer but were trapped there because of their unfinished business. He decided to help the ghosts, and he searched the house for clues about what had happened to the family. He found a hidden compartment in one of the rooms that contained a diary written by one of the family members. The diary revealed that the family had been killed by a jealous neighbor who had been in love with one of the family members. The killer had never been caught, and the family's spirits had remained trapped in the house, seeking justice for their murder. The man took the diary to the authorities, and with the new evidence, they were able to solve the case and bring the killer to justice. The ghosts of the house were finally able to rest in peace, and the house on the hill was never seen again. The man knew that he had fulfilled his duty, and he left the hill with a sense of closure and peace. He knew that he would never forget the horror he had experienced in the house on the hill, but he also knew that he had found the answers he had been looking for, and he had helped the spirits of the house find peace at last.